Never underestimate the human drive to overcome. At Moffitt Cancer Center, our courageous patients inspire us to give them the best team and the best innovations in digital healthcare, to give them the best chance for survival. We're building the cell therapy powerhouse of the future to treat the disease now and eradicate it in the future. It's cancer treatment that turns fear into courage, and a world with cancer into a world without it. Moffitt Cancer Center. Be courageous.
This is Legal Live with Eddie and Chuck Farah. They're talking the latest legal news and answering your questions. To call Legal Live and ask Eddie and Chuck a question, grab your phone and dial 855-765-1045. That's 855-765-1045.
All righty, welcome to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah. Give us a call at 855-765-1045. I'm Shafalika, and I'm joined today by the legal gurus, Eddie and Chuck. How's it going, gentlemen?
It's all good, Shafalika. Finally, the rain's over. That's what I'm happy about. Now
Me too.
Now the wind and the cold is coming in. What's next?
Yeah, it's March. You can never tell.
Yeah.
That's right. Spring is on the horizon.
Yeah, for sure.
We got to spring forward tonight. Remember to set the clocks.
Yay, an extra hour of sleep.
No,
You're losing an hour.
lose an hour.
That's in the fall, Shafalika.
Now I'm super sad.
Okay. All right. We got some legal stuff to talk about.
Let's go for it.
First of all, I want to talk about I want to talk about some cruising. People, the ship is now back at Blunt Island, and people are going out again. Cruisers are back. Everybody's back cruising, and people are looking forward to that. They were interviewing people last week on the news, and everybody was all excited about going out and getting out of town. Mm-hmm. A lot of good deals on the cruises right now too, so people are taking advantage of that. But when you're on a cruise ship, everything changes. Your rights and what you have under the law, what you think you're protected by, the Constitution and rules of law, all go out the window when you're on a cruise ship. Everything stops. You are basically under the control of the people that own the cruise ship. You really don't have any constitutional rights. Once you're on a cruise ship, they can search your stateroom without notice. They don't have to have a warrant. They don't have to give you notice. They can come in and just search your room, and they can go through the safe in the room. They can come in. They can, detain you. They can even if they don't like what you're doing on the boat, they can just drop you off at a port and say you can't get back on the ship.
They make their own rules.
Yeah, they have their own rules.
Their own laws.
You're completely under the control of the cruise ship, cruise ship owner once you're on the boat. Wow. Don't think that you have you have no right of privacy. They can come in, do what they want, basically. Now, so in addition to that, usually, and some people get sick on cruise ships, and they got medical facilities there, and it used to be until the law changed recently, just the last few years. A lot of times these doctors were from foreign countries, and they weren't even employees of the cruise line. They were like independent contractors. And so if a medical mistake happened on the boat, good luck. You got to chase them down from wherever country they're from, try to find them. Nobody ever won in that situation. So now, but the law's changed, and these doctors are considered part of the cruise ship owner. And if a medical mistake is made, you do have some recourse. The only issue is, regardless of the fact that they're part of the cruise ship, the doctor, is typically from a foreign country, because they can hire them a lot cheaper from a foreign country than they can hire a local doctor. So you're going to have to go to find that physician in the country he's at to take his deposition and do that sort of thing. But again,
and then you come under the rules and the laws of the ship and the form selection clauses, and there's a lot that goes into
just look at
how you bring on a lawsuit in that situation too.
Yeah, look at your baggage claim. I mean, if something happens to your baggage, they throw it overboard, or you're limited to $50 per bag, $100 per cabin. that's not a pair of shorts anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow.
Well, that doesn't even cover the luggage.
Yeah. And they have an unlimited right to search your stateroom, as we said. They can search you, not just your room. They can do it without notice. They have a right to enter and search your stateroom, and the safe, the person, anything in your room. You yourself, you can be detained. They don't have to have a reason.
They don't have to have probable cause or anything.
No, they can say, okay, this guy's acting unruly. We don't like the way he's acting. Or somebody can say, hey, he told me he's COVID positive or he's got some sort of illness, and they can come in and grab you and just, just leave you on. They don't have to put you in their detention facility, which I'm sure they have something like that on the ship, but they could just drop you off at the next port and say you can't get back on.
And so you're stranded in some other country.
Yeah. You're talking about the dark side, right now of the cruising
Also,
industry.
I'll tell you a real dark side. I'll tell you a real dark side of the cruise lines is the way they've got their way the lawsuits are structured. If you get hurt on a cruise ship, and let's say you slip and fall, or maybe you're assaulted by, these cases happen all the time, where passengers on cruise ships are assaulted by employees of
we've
the
handled
cruise.
them.
Yeah,
we've handled cases like
where
that.
people have been assaulted by, an employee of the cruise line, or just an unruly passenger who they're allowing to go, get drunk and do something bad, and so something happens to a passenger. So if you want to sue the cruise line, you really got to go look at the ticket, and the tickets now are online, and the ticket will tell you. I can tell you this because I've seen a lot of them. The ticket will tell you that you've got to file your case down in Miami. You can't file it, even though you're coming out of Jacksonville or you're coming out of Canaveral. 99% of the cases or the tickets say you're going to have to file your lawsuit in federal court in Miami.
Right.
And that's where all the cruise liners are based out of. I mean, that's where their home port is. So they always have an advantage there because you got to go to their venue, their home, their base to file a lawsuit. It also restricts you to that. You got to file the restriction is you got to file your lawsuit within 1 year of the date that the occurrence occurred. So you got a 1 year statute of limitation.
Whereas, compared to like in Florida, when a general suit, you have 4 years.
4 years.
But here you got 1 year.
And then you've got 6. And then on top of that, you have to put them on written notice within 6 months of the incident that you intend to file a lawsuit. So
like an obstacle course.
Yeah. So if you don't, so you really
get.
if you don't put them on written notice within 6 months of the incident, you're out. Okay. So it's really a shorter statute of limitation.
Wow.
So the moral to that story is, God forbid, if something bad happens to you on a ship, you've got to talk to a maritime lawyer immediately.
Yeah.
Because time is running, and these employees that are on the ship, they come and go. You've got to get a lawyer immediately who can get involved, file the lawsuit, and then and take some action against the cruise line. So I mean
you can't like wait to see, I may get better. Let's say you're injured, you don't think it's that bad, you self-medicate, you try to say, well, let me just kind of watch it. No, I mean, you need to get treatment, and you got to contact a lawyer immediately because of these time limitations. I mean, 6 months in the legal business is like 1 day.
A lot of things can happen.
It flies by.
I mean, the cruise ship takes off to Italy, and then the person who you need to take a deposition for is in Italy, never comes back. So anyway, that's the cruise line. That's kind of a quick summary of what your rights and obligations are when you're on a boat. Look at the ticket. The ticket will tell you everything. It'll tell you about the limitations on baggage lost and what they can and cannot do. But what I just gave you is pretty much prevalent through the cruise industry.
That's really important
to know.
Have a
good time out there, guys.
Yeah, have a good time.
Maybe
good
get
luck.
some of your money back in the casino.
Oh, my goodness gracious. That's really important now that these cruise lines have opened up in Jacksonville. Well,
go knock yourself out. Because they'll knock you back.
Oh, my goodness. We're having a great day. We'll be right back. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. Give us a call at 855-765-1045. We'd love to hear from you. We'll be right back after this quick break. Welcome back. You're listening to Legal Live on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. I'm Shafalika, and I'm joined by Eddie and Chuck today, and we've got a caller on the line. Holly from Callahan, you said your son has been in a wreck with a fire truck. What's going on?
Hi. My question is this. Our son has just basic limits of liability on his vehicle, which is now toast. He was hit going home one afternoon from our house to Jack's Beach, and he was hit by a fire department tanker truck. The truck turned in front of him, totaled his vehicle. He was hurt terribly, fractured skull, fractures in his neck, shattered his femur, and he has not contacted an attorney yet because he seems to think because he just had basic limits of liability and because it was a city rescue vehicle that he doesn't have a leg to stand on, literally and figuratively.
Yeah. Well, Holly, hopefully he's getting better. That's the main thing right now.
Right.
He had PIP. I'm sure that PIP money's gone. It's only $10,000. The hospital bill took a lot more than that. But who received? Did they issue a ticket in the accident?
No one was issued a ticket.
Okay. All right.
They just got a copy of the accident report.
Okay. The full report or the preliminary report? Do you have
the preliminary?
Okay, because if you give us, or if you have the accident report number, the full report can be pulled, okay? But the fact that nobody was issued a ticket really doesn't make a difference, okay? Because under Florida law, whether you received your ticket or didn't is not relevant, is not admissible in a court of law. If the tanker turned in front of him, then it's the city's fault. His accident is the responsibility of the city. And he would have a claim against the city for his injuries. Okay?
Okay. Good to know.
Okay, his insurance would not, don't let him, he shouldn't worry about his insurance. His insurance is going to pay his $10,000 of PIP. Also, the city should be responsible for his vehicle. I don't know, have they reached out to pay for that?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
the city didn't even get out to help him.
Yeah, I'm not,
It was
because
bystanders at a gas station that pulled him out of his burning truck.
yeah, because
Where's the irony in that?
Wow. Well, the thing about it is the city does not have insurance. They're self-insured. They have insurance adjusters that work for them, but they're self-insured. They pay out of their pocket. So your attorney, whoever that attorney is, needs to get in touch with the city and say, hey, we've got a claim here. There are certain things that have to be filed by your attorney that will allow you to pursue that claim. But one of the claims is getting them the fair market value of the vehicle. You know, I mean, instead of him going through his insurance where he has a deductible, the city is responsible for paying for that.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
If you'd like to get us involved, you can leave your name.
Yeah, we can talk to you more about it. It's not. I mean, you don't want to get into all the details over the radio show, but what we give you is sort of an outline when you're handling a claim against a city. But yeah, he should not worry just because it's a city vehicle. They have sovereign immunity, but that immunity is waived when it comes to situations like this. So he does have a valid claim for his injury. Yeah.
Very good to know.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Holly.
Thank you so much for calling,
Sure.
Holly, and we hope your son recovers as
Yeah.
well. Those are some major injuries that
Yes.
he incurred.
And the thing about it is, people always, Holly brings up a good point there, Shafalika, that, nobody received it, or she isn't aware of anybody who received a ticket. I mean, until you get the final report, which she probably got the preliminary report, when you get the final report, that's the investigation of the JSO, and you'll have an idea what happened in the accident. Also, you don't want too much time to go by because there's probably some video in the area that you want to get a hold of.
Exactly. I mean, we like to jump in and do our own investigation.
We have our people. We don't listen because the accident. Everybody still looks at the accident report, but let me tell you, the accident report typically is not worth the paper it's written on because it's not admissible in a court of law. You can't take the accident report to court and say, "Well, Judge, the police gave the fire department the ticket." Can't do it. You got to prove the case through the physical evidence.
Yeah.
So I think what Holly should do is get an attorney immediately, go find the video if there's video out there, get that video and get the full report and see if there are any witnesses that you can track down, because the city, they have insurance adjusters, and they'll try to get to people, to witnesses like any other insurance company, and they'll try to, see what they can get from that witness to support their side of the case. They're very good at taking witness statements. They know how to phrase the questions, and sometimes they can, get some, score a few points with the witness that support their claim. So that's why it's very important to get a lawyer and act immediately.
That's right. And if you need help finding some FDOT traffic cameras, you can go to fl511.com and also check with local businesses. If he was going from Jack's Beach back through town, if he was on, 295 or something like that,
Well,
there are cameras there.
Yeah, if he was in a gas station, typically those people have cameras out there.
Yeah, there's cameras everywhere.
And there's cameras everywhere.
And there might be cameras maybe even on the fire truck. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And they probably have a dash cam or something like that. I'm sure they do. So, yeah, but it's important to get that and preserve it, because stuff like that happens to disappear when it's not favorable to the person who took it.
That's true.
We've seen that happen, too.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden it's gone, or, nobody knows where it is. But
the part of that story that breaks my heart is that his car was on fire and the fire truck didn't help him. That
that's
breaks
pretty
my heart.
amazing. Well, they're going to argue we're en route to a very, this
Who
truck's
knows?
on fire. They kept going. I don't know how they're going to justify that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and those tankers, talk about a semi-truck.
Oh, that's a huge
That thing
vehicle.
probably
That
weighs
is.
more than a semi-truck. A semi-truck is 80,000 pounds.
The tankers
A
are the
tanker
water
full of water,
tankers?
it's probably more. I'd like to know,
Wow.
that probably weighs 100,000 pounds.
Jeez.
Who knows what it weighs?
Who knows? Yeah, that's true.
That's
A
like a
gallon of
loco-
water is 8 pounds itself.
Getting hit by that thing is like getting hit by a locomotive,
Oh, my goodness.
probably.
All righty. Well, thank you so much for calling in, Holly. We're about to go to a quick break right now. You've been listening to Legal Live, brought to you by 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. Give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. 855-765-1045. We'll be right back with more Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah. Welcome back. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. I'm Shafalika, and I'm joined today by Eddie and Chuck. Give us a call at 855-765-1045. All right, on to the next.
Yeah, Shafalika, there are a couple of new laws that went into effect recently. One has to do with condominiums. Or
Oh,
I think
really?
it's
I have
maybe
one
it's
of
not in
those.
effect yet, but the governor's getting ready to sign it. It has to do with inspecting condominiums here in Florida after what happened
we
down in
need that.
Miami. Yeah, so the new rule is going to be that any condominium within 3 miles of the coast, and this applies to condominiums that are over 3 stories, but anything over 3 stories has to be inspected within every 25 years if it's within 3 miles of the coast. And what happens is if they must be recertified every 10 years after that. So if it's over 25 years old, if it's over 25 years, it's got to be inspected. Then it's going to be inspected every 10 years after that. Now, the inspector, if he sees something physically wrong with the structure, he reports that to the state or to the county, and they're going to be required to the owners have to take action. They're not going to just have to sit around and, well, do we want to do this? Or, a lot of times they just kind of say, wow, that's really expensive. Let's hold off. Maybe we can patch it up. Let's think about it. We don't have enough money in our account to repair it. I think those days are over because now the county, once they know that something's going on, they can enforce the repairs. And if they see some physical damage, they can do some phase 2 inspection, which is even more intrusive, of course. And so they can really find out what's going on and give these people some information. Because a lot of times just a visual inspection does not give you enough. You may see something there visually, but maybe you've got to do some destructive testing or do something to really check out what's happening with the structure. This new rule allows them to do that. So,
Yeah.
so it's a more invasive type examination, which you probably need. But what I found interesting about this, out of the 1.5 million condos in the state of Florida, over 900,000 of them are over 30 years old.
Wow.
So, I mean, they're really aging. I mean, the condos
That's
are
very old.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody, you see them. I mean, they're really, if you think about it, yeah. I mean, they're not really building a lot of new condo complexes. You see
That's
some
true.
going on, but really 900 out of the 1.5 million, over 900,000 of them are over 30 years old, which means they were built before 1990, basically 1992. So, anyway,
And we
I thought that
get
was an
hit
interesting
every
stat.
single year with destructive storms and bad inclement
Yeah.
weather.
Well,
They could be structurally weakening over time.
yeah, but this new law is going to make it more. They're going to get more stringent testing, and hopefully we can avoid anything that happened like down in Miami last year.
Because
Yeah.
when you leave it to the homeowners, you'll have a group that don't want to invest in it to maintain it, and maintain the building, and then it just kind of gets, it gets caught up in that debate, and then nothing ever happens, and
And then if you sell
Yeah.
the condo, then it's
or then
somebody
it
else's
collapses like it did in Miami.
problem.
You know,
Yeah, no,
You're-
we
you-
can't have that again.
But you're protecting your asset. You're conserving your asset, the value of your asset. Some people don't see it that way. Maybe they're financially not able to pay the extra assessment. But those condominium associations, you got to pay it. They come up with an amount. If you don't pay it, they put a lien against your condo. So
Yeah.
you've got to come up with that money. So and really, it's not just it's a safety issue, and it's a preserving the value of your asset issue. Because who wants to buy a condominium unit if they know it's been inspected and the inspector says, "I see something here," and they're not fixing it? That condominium, I think your unit's worthless at that point.
Wow.
I mean, you may have to go get a loan against your unit and pay the assessment. I'm sure this is what's going to be happening, but a lot of people are upset about this new rule because it is going to increase the cost and of operating these condominiums. But
That's
anyway,
true.
we'll see what
You know,
happens, how that plays out.
I wonder if the structure itself is over 25 years old, then also like the plumbing, the insulation, like the other infrastructure parts of your property are also that old. And I'm sure something like pipes and cast iron pipes have degraded over time, become brittle as well. That could be a huge liability as well in your house.
Yeah,
Wow.
but if it's a pipe within your unit, if it's a steel pipe, then your homeowners, I think, would cover that. I mean, your insurance would cover,
Depends if it's
It's about the
shared by
struc-
another
it's
shared,
about
unit.
the
yeah, but
structure
shared.
of the building.
Yeah,
you know.
that area law is very, very technical. It's beyond our expertise. Well, we're personal injury attorneys, and but it's interesting to see because there is a personal injury component to this. Of course, I know there
True.
recently was a payout, $82 million to the homeowners, to the people that passed away and that were injured. I think that was last week, but this is a law that the judge and the governor should be signing any time now. The other thing, I want to move on to another law that's in effect now. We know that cyberstalking is a crime, but what this law expands cyberstalking. This new law, titled Electronic Crimes, prohibits a person from sending, posting, or transmitting any writing or other electric record, including on social media, in any manner that could be seen as a threat to kill, do bodily harm, or conduct a mass shooting or act of terrorism. So that's pretty much been the law. You can't go online and threat to kill or commit mayhem and get away with it and say it's a free speech issue. No,
Right.
it's a crime. But what this law does, it removes the requirement that the threat be sent to a particular person who is the subject of the threat. So you don't have to send that threat to a particular person.
It can just be a general comment.
You could just send it out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I
I
see.
think I'm going to
go blow
do
up.
something. Yeah, blow up a building today.
Yeah. So that
Wow.
law is so you could be that's a crime, that's a criminal act, and you could be arrested
Just to
for that.
put it out there on the internet.
Yeah. Whereas
Wow,
it used to be you'd have to have it directed towards a particular individual.
Interesting.
I see.
So
had to
that
be an
law's been
object to the
expanded.
threat.
Yeah. So that law's been expanded to encompass any kind of threat, basically.
I wonder if that's
know.
an attempt to prevent, I guess, to maybe catch something like, for example, school shooters early, because they may be on websites or chat forums where they're mentioning, like,
Yeah.
I just want to, like,
I'm sure that has a
bust a
big,
cap
big
in
part
somebody.
of it.
You know what I mean?
Well, interesting about this law, it includes the distribution electronically, which may include a text, a graphic, video, or audio, but does not include a phone call. Okay, so the way I interpret that is if I call someone and I tell them I'm going to do something, it's not covered by this. Maybe there's another law that, we don't do criminal law work. Maybe somebody's listening. Maybe there's a state attorney out there or a defense lawyer that's listening to the show that can explain to us why telephone calls were excluded from this electronic crimes statute
Is
in
there
Florida.
inherent privacy if you're talking just directly to one person and it's not going out over the internet?
I know, but maybe that person, if you're threatening that person directly over the phone, I guess maybe you could call somebody or call the police or do something. But
Interesting.
but it does not include, it excludes telephone calls. And there must be some legal reason why phone calls are not included in the electronic crimes statute.
Maybe it could be tied to mental health, like you're on the phone with your therapist.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's interesting, though. Give us a call at 855-765-1045 if you're listening and you might have an answer to this.
Yeah, a couple more laws that
we're about.
Every year new laws go into effect, and things change and people's needs change and things happen. The legislature's at work trying to pass laws that make our lives better. This is one where it talks. We know that Lyft and Uber and all those guys have they're governed by a certain set of rules, and rental companies like Hertz and Avis and all that, they have their own set.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people that do peer-to-peer car sharing. I've got my car. I'm gonna put it out there, and you can rent my car.
Yeah.
You don't have to. It's not Uber. You want to use my car for 2 weeks,
Right?
I mean, there's a platform where you can go and put your car out there, and you can deliver your car to someone, and they can use your car for 2 weeks. Well, under this new Florida law is that if you are involved in peer-to-peer car sharing, you have to comply with certain financial requirements now. And what they're doing, they're lumping you into the category of rental companies. So you're going to have to pay surcharges, and there's going to be a cost associated with you putting your car into that pool of vehicles to be leased out. So be aware of that.
Yeah, we need to
if
get
you're
it.
involved.
Yeah, we can touch back on that right after this quick break, if you don't mind.
All right, sure.
That would be great. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. Feel free to give us a call. We've got a few minutes left of our show today. Our number is 855-765-1045. We'll be right back after this quick break. Welcome back. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. I'm Shafalika, and I'm joined by Eddie and Chuck. Let's get going. We've got a few minutes left.
Yeah, sure. All right. We're talking about new laws. There's another new law in effect. It's called the Child Safety Alarm Act, and it requires all vehicles used by child care facilities to transport children to be equipped with an approved alarm system, which tells the driver to check for kids before leaving the area. We know why that law is in effect. During the summer, we know what happens when children are inadvertently left into a vehicle. And so from now on, and there was something that happened last year, if you remember, you probably covered it, Shafalika, where a child care facility had a van, and a child, or maybe more, a child was left in the van.
That's right.
And that kid didn't make it. So this new law is going to have an alarm that prompts the driver to look in the vehicle and check to see if anybody is in it. I'm telling you, to me, it's probably very inexpensively to put that in the van. I mean, I wish that was in every vehicle, because
That's
you know,
true.
it's not just
That's
the
true.
child care facilities where this happens. It happens every summer. It never fails. Every year, once the weather gets hot, you hear it happening on a regular basis. So, I hopefully, every car company that will, institute that.
Yeah. A little bit of
Yeah.
precaution,
Yeah.
an ounce of precaution is a pound of,
Yeah. But there's,
saving.
and sometimes people forget. I mean, sometimes how can somebody leave, not remember a kid is in the vehicle? But people get things are on their
Oh,
mind.
man, yeah.
They're on their got to
Yeah.
get somewhere. They're in a hurry. They're under
Yeah.
pressure to do this, pressure to do this. They get out of the car and
Yeah.
forget somebody was in it.
And
It
if you're
happens.
taking care of 30 kids on a field trip,
Yeah.
if you got 29 kids in front of you, it's hard to figure out, wait, am I missing one?
Yeah, and it's not like
know?
it's never. It's like it only happened once. It happens every year.
Yeah, it
It's not
does.
like
It does.
it's
I know,
not
you
like
wouldn't think-
it
yeah, I
happened.
mean, it does happen.
It happened
yeah.
20 years ago. That was a vet. No, it happens every year.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to hear it every year. But anyway, those are the laws that are new laws in the state of Florida that we just covered. The condo thing and
You were mentioning the
child-
Uber and Lyft thing before we went to break.
Yeah, the
Oh, yeah.
share, the peer share.
Ride
yeah.
share.
What's going to happen? Yeah, that I kind of gave you the scoop on that. Is that if you're doing that peer-to-peer car rental thing, that you're going to have to now start complying with some financial responsibility laws. You're going to have to be like a Hertz or an Avis. There will be some surcharges you're going to be charged, and there are going to be some other things you have to comply with in order to do that peer-to-peer. The government's always going to get their piece as what they want, and they're going to tax it basically.
Mm-hmm.
A surcharge is a tax. They're imposing a surcharge just like they do to Hertz or everybody else. So
Yeah, but the liability coverage is, I wonder if that's kind of equal to what Hertz.
Hertz is not required to have any. Remember,
Well, that's what I mean. I
Yeah,
mean,
they're
is
not.
is that the same? Because
probably, yeah.
because generally the owner of a vehicle is responsible for
Mhm.
the actions of the driver. If you loan your car out and you own
Right.
the vehicle, you're
Right.
responsible for those actions. Well, if it was Hertz who owned the car, their coverage is equal to what the value of their company is. So if they own the car and they rent it out, and the driver of that rental causes an accident and injures somebody, well, Hertz is responsible for it, right? Generally.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was a law years ago that were passed that limited their liability in that situation, that said that they could not, that they weren't responsible. So I don't know if that's going to be the same with this type of peer-to-peer type thing that Eddie's talking about,
That's
where
interesting.
they're limited. I don't know.
Yeah, that was
It's
the
a good
That was
question.
the Graves
The
Amendment.
Graves Amendment.
That shows you the power of the people with the money. Okay, you and I, we're regular people. We loan our car out. Somebody causes an accident, we're responsible. Okay, it's our car. We loaned it. We're responsible. Hertz, Avis, all these rental car companies got together and they went to Congress. They went to Washington, and they used their political power. And they said, "Look, we want a free ride. We want to not be responsible. Our car. We know we own the cars, but the people that lease the cars are going to be responsible, not us." So they got this. They call it the Graves Amendment. It's passed. Now the only way you can go after a rental car company if their vehicle caused an accident, if you can show some independent fault on their part. Let's say somebody's drunk comes up to the counter at Avis and says, "Lease me a car." They lease a drunk guy a car. That's a little different. That's separate negligence. Or if somebody or maybe the car was not maintained properly, and
Like the brakes went out.
Yeah,
or
the brake or the
something.
tire comes off, or the tires were worn, and it causes an accident. That's different. You can still sue the rental car company at that point. But generally, the rental car companies now have a free ride. They are not responsible when their car causes an accident, unlike me, you, and Chuck Shafalika, where we're on the hook for an auto
They get a
accident.
break. These big corporations get a break.
Because
Yeah.
they got that law passed. It used to be like that until recently. They were on the hook when their
Right.
car was involved in an accident.
Well,
but not anymore.
they were responsible just like an individual was when it
So
came to
Right.
owning
what you
their
want-
cars and releasing them out, or having other drivers drive their vehicles.
Now
And they
what you-
probably had to hold high standards to maintain those vehicles safely, and now maybe perhaps they.
Well, they're still responsible if they don't maintain the vehicle. That's a
Yeah.
separate
Oh,
issue.
okay, gotcha.
You can still be sued for that.
That's
I'm talking
good.
about just an auto accident. But what's happened is now what you need to remember when you rent a car, now that we got into that, is that typically they're going to try to sell you insurance. But if you have insurance on your vehicle, that insurance typically should cover the rental car that you're driving. So you have protection because Hertz doesn't have, or the rental car company doesn't have. If you cause an accident, don't expect the rental car company to come in and pay the other person that got injured. Okay, you're on the hook for that accident personally. They're not going to be able to sue the rental car company. They're going to sue you. So hopefully, if you had bodily injury coverage under your personal vehicle, you should have coverage under the rental car. It transfers over to the rental. But what you may want to do before you pay for rental car coverage from a rental car company, because they're going to try to sell it to you, Ask your own insurance company, hey, I'm going to go on a vacation. I'm renting a vehicle. And does my coverage on my car policy, like my State Farm policy, cover me on the rental? And they'll tell you typically it does. So you don't have to buy the insurance because you've got coverage.
Wow.
And a lot of times,
rental car companies are always pushing that. I mean, it's a money,
it's a money maker. They make more money. The other thing is, what we have found is that a lot of times the credit card that you use to rent the vehicle will provide you coverage for that accident.
Really?
Yes. There are certain credit card companies that provide you coverage when you use that card to rent a car from a rental car company. So there are things you can look at before you pay all that money to a rental car company for insurance. You may already have it.
That's fascinating. I honestly did not know that.
Yeah.
That's why I love this show. I learn something new every single week.
Well, Shafak, we're trying to, we're going to make an attorney out of you before it's over.
I would love to. That would be so cool. I'll be a girl and an attorney.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Well, thank you so much for listening this week. This is Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. We will be back next week again for another wonderful show at noon on Saturdays. Thank you so much for listening, and have a fantastic weekend.
Never underestimate the human drive to overcome. At Moffitt Cancer Center, our courageous patients inspire us to give them the best team and the best innovations in digital healthcare, to give them the best chance for survival. We're building the cell therapy powerhouse of the future to treat the disease now and eradicate it in the future. It's cancer treatment that turns fear into courage, and a world with cancer into a world without it. Moffitt Cancer Center. Be courageous.